Hey everybody, it's Mike from The Mike Wagner Show. If you like The Mike Wagner Show and you want to make your own podcast, well, let me tell you about Anchor. First of all, it's free. Secondly, there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. You can also add any song from Spotify directly to your episodes. The possibilities are endless. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you. You can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, many more. You can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started. This edition of The Mike Wagner Show is brought to you by Picture This Photo Books, where remembering is the key ingredient. How beautiful your mother looked at her wedding, and even more so at yours. And who doesn't miss Grandma's meatballs? The holidays are coming. What better time to give a gift of remembrance that makes you laugh and cry all at the same time? Whatever gift of Grandma's recipes, or just because, those smiles and tears will melt your heart. Call Karen Shaw at 646-798-0809 or visit PictureThisPhotoBooks.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 10% off your first order. Picture This Photo Books, bringing your memories back to life. They're whimsical, casual, or formal, and always uniquely you.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from The Mike Wagner Show. It's time to give a shout out to our official sponsor of The Mike Wagner Show, international award-winning author Mian Mohsen Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, then you'll love Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia. Available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. It takes place in 4 countries with 2 strangers and 1 target where truth is an illusion and those you love will be the first to go missing. It's available in paperback and ebook on Amazon. Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia has garnered great reviews and is even loved by Hollywood celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today. Order Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia, now available at Amazon.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, iTunes, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Mike brings you great guests and interesting people from all across the globe. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another great episode of the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from The Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international war-ring author Mian Mohsen Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is an illusion and those you love be the first to go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia has garnered great reviews and even loved and enjoyed by Hollywood celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today before it goes missing by Mian Mohsen Zia, available on Amazon. Also, the Mike Wagner Show is brought to you by Picture This Photo Books. Remembering is a key ingredient. How beautiful your mother looked at a wedding, and even more so at yours. And who doesn't miss Grandma's meatballs, huh? Well, the holidays are coming. What better time to give a gift for remembrance, makes you laugh and cry at the same time? Whatever gift for Grandma's recipes or just because, those smiles and tears, they'll just melt your heart. Call Karen Shaw, Picture This Photo Books at 646-798-0809 or visit PictureThisPhotoBooks.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 10% off your first order. Picture This Photo Books, bring your memories back to life. The whimsical, casual, or formal, and always uniquely you. Also, check out the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com and over 30 podcast platforms, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also, Anchor FM, Apple, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible, and more. Take us with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. And for great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com and check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. T-shirts, pop sockets, throw pillows, tote bags, makes great gifts 24/7. And don't forget to check out the Me and Molson Zero store on Amazon for pop sockets, hoodies, T-shirts, lots of cool merchandise, and great books like Missing, Once, and Wrinkles. Go to Amazon.com/Me and Molson Z and check out the store today. And don't forget to support the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM and PayPal and the MikeWagnerShow.com. Make sure you give generously today. We're here with a terrific gentleman who's a forensic psychologist who just released a new book with dozens of interviews he conducted with criminals committing unimaginable crimes. So you hear about the crimes today, and he's got some great stories to tell you. So sit back and listen to some true crimes here. He received his Ptsd from USC and also he also certified in psychoanalysis, neuropsychology, and also mental disability law, and also a member of the expert witness panels of Orange County and also San Bernardino County. And he spent 25 years experience in conducting criminal and civil forensic examinations, and 2,000 as of today. And of course, by the time it's done, he'll probably double that, and also leader in forensic psychology. He's got some great stories to tell. Live, ladies and gentlemen, from the Plus Studios in beautiful downtown Orange County, the author of Decoding Madness, ladies and gentlemen, the amazing Richard Lettieri. Richard, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Mike. I'm glad to be here.
What's great to have you on board, too. And of course, you have your new book called Decoding Madness, and you've got some really interesting stories. We'll talk about a couple of people in there. You're a forensic psychologist who just released a book about dozens of interviews with criminals committing unimaginable crimes. We'll cover a few of them. And also, you also received your PhD from USC, and you also are certified in psychoanalysis, also neuropsychology, and also mental disability law, and a member of the expert witness panels in Orange and San Bernardino counties. And you spent 25 years experience in conducting criminal and civil forensic examinations. You've had 2,000 to date. And before getting to all that, and especially about the book, Decoding Madness, tell us how I first got started.
Well, when I first started, I was actually, as an undergraduate, I was in a different field. I followed my brother's footsteps, and I was in engineering. I was going to be an electrical engineer. Mm-hmm. But I was never really satisfied with that. And I
Shocking.
got into, yeah, right. This just wasn't for me. So by the third year, I thought, I got to get out of this, unless I'm going to be an engineer. So and fortunately, in the program I was in, we had to take humanities classes. And in the humanities classes, we were introduced to the various social scientists, thinkers, literary people. And we had to read certain sections of Sigmund Freud's book. And when I read some of that stuff, that's where I want to go. When he was talking about how, particularly one of the books that Freud usually assigned his undergraduate, his book, Civilization and Its Discontents. When he talks about how, in order to function as a society, we all have to repress some of our more dangerous elements, some of our more self-centered ones. Mm-hmm. And the way he talked about it really rang true to me about how the unconscious affects how people's lives and how they have to deal with internal conflict in order to accommodate and to adjust. And that really rang through to me. So I eventually went into psychology, got my degree, and specialized in psychoanalysis and in forensic psychology. And I think my interest in forensics work and in psychoanalysis always stems from a basic desire to understand human nature and its complexity, and how we could be, and how our nature allows us to do such a range and a spectrum of behavior, from being extraordinarily creative and also to be unbelievably destructive. And that's fascinating that that we're all made of the same stuff, but the range of what we do and who we are and any one of us could behave is so broad, from our nature allowing us as a muse to be creative, to give something back to the world. Whereas to take the wrong turn on the other end of the spectrum, you can end up being violent, criminal, psychopathic. So I think that's what has always been fascinating to me, as even before Freud lit it up in me and made me identify it more. But even as a young kid, I was always interested in morality. Went to a Catholic school, but morality as part of human nature. So, that's where and also what drove me to write this book about. It's not just about crime. It's about using the criminal justice system as a venue to really explore who we are as people. And in some of the cases, it's just because of the nature of criminal justice, there's so much raw emotionality that it really gives a clear view of the range of human behavior and our potential for both good and bad.
Mm-hmm. And besides studying Freud, what other psychologists have you studied before coming to the conclusion that you're influenced by Freud?
Oh, well, Freud, I mean, Freud, I remember, you got to remember, Freud was writing over 100 years ago. So the psychoanalysis as a field has developed much further than that. I wouldn't say I'm a Freudian, I'm a neo-Freudian, beyond Freudian. And all kinds of influences have been on me from my mentors, from Robert Stolero, for example. He's a well-known contemporary psychoanalyst, to contemporary neo-Freudians. Most of my mentors have been in that domain. Also, I've also been highly influenced by empirical psychology. I mean, I have a PhD, and at USC, the emphasis, part of the emphasis was on research. So you have to learn how to do research, and the byproduct of that is an appreciation for empirical findings. That you need to wed to theory. You can't just be speculative. There has to be some proof. And I think in my book, I try to outline that and present that. For example, in many of the case studies that I look at, like one of my studies that I present in Heart of Darkness about the psychopath, this guy who was already in jail and serving a serious time, but he then almost stabbed another inmate when he had an opportunity to, because that inmate was allegedly a sex offender, and that's the folklore in jail.
Oh wow!
If you have an opportunity to get a sex offender and attack him, you do it. But this I got particularly. He was a particularly violent guy for years, and he was pleading not guilty by reason of insanity. Which is very interesting, because he basically his basic argument was that I came from a very violent family. My father was dead. He was a criminal. I had brothers in jail. My mother was an alcoholic. There was some early abuse. His basic thesis was, how can I have been any other way? This is the way I was. It's not my fault. It's biology. And the interesting thing, he arrived at the interview with me with data to support this. He brought in research articles by neuroscientists, and here's another interesting thing: how insightful this guy was. He brings in a book as well as these research articles by Irving Goffman. There's another one of people who've influenced me. He was a sociologist who wrote a book on asylums, on how people, when they're in institutions for a long period of time, they become institutionalized and they lose their sense of personal responsibility and agency. And his point was, I've been in jail for all these years. I've raised in this terrible environment. It's not my fault. I can't be any other way. And he had the neuroscientific articles to prove it, or what he thought was to prove it. But to be in, and this is helps also to understand the idea of insanity. In order to be found not guilty by reason of insanity, you have to have a major mental illness like schizophrenia, such that when you committed the act, you didn't know it was wrong. So, for example, if in another case, a man killed his father, but he thought his father was some kind of secret agent, and he saw the beams of lights in this man's eyes. He was very delusional. So he thought if he didn't kill his father, he was going to be killed. And he believed that. So that if all those facts are true, and the evidence is that he's not faking it and lying about it and malingering, then that's grounds for an insanity defense. But this patient I'm talking about, the defendant, he was going up a different tree. He was saying, I should be saying not that I didn't know what I was doing, but that I couldn't help being doing what I was doing. I tried to explain that to him, that that's not going to work. The point about this, when I go back to the empirical findings. I did a lot of psychological and neuropsychological testing, so I could empirically identify where he's at in terms of his disabilities. And that comes from all the scientific nature of psychological testing. So that was an interesting case. I found him to be sane, but he did have an important point of contention in the field. And this is an interesting fact too, that there are many neuroscientists that feel psychopaths should be an excusing condition, because to be a psychopath like this gentleman, you have to have a different kind of brain. Their brains are the science is clear on that. Their brains are different. They have an underactive emotional center, the limbic system, so they don't feel things the same way you and I would. So they don't form empathy. They don't learn from experience. They aren't socialized as naturally. So a lot of neuroscientists feel because of that, they really can't help being cruel and self-centered and predatory. So that not that they should be excused, but they should be contained and not as culpable. So that's an interesting. I disagree with that, by the way, and we can talk about why. But
that's fine. And in fact, when we get a chance, we can talk about why on that, and why I disagree, and about the reason of insanity. How does that reason of insanity differ from where you're at comparing to the other states and nationwide?
Yeah. This is another important thing to keep in mind with insanity. All the insanity laws, the statutes are very different in different states. In California, we have the McNaughton standard, which is the most rigorous one. It was a lesser standard. It was more the American Law Institute standard before Reagan was shot. At that time, the standard is more if a person, it's more related to what's called volitional control. If you emotionally can't control yourself for some reason, then there's a possibility that you can be judged to be insane because you kind of lose control. That's not the case in California here, or in all the McNaughton states, which is pretty dominant. With the McNaughton standard, it's what's called the cognitive. You have to not know what you did was wrong. You have to not understand it was wrong. So, like the example I gave, if I kill someone because I actually think he's coming to kill me, and I'm delusional, I think he's an agent of the Russians, or he's going to poison me. I see him with a pen, he's going to poison me. Then that's it has to be that cognitive, which is very difficult.
Was that the same case or same example with that guy in New York that shot 4 teenagers thinking they were going to rob him? Was it Bernard or something? It's like I can't think of.
I know. No, that was because he knew what he was doing. He was on. That guy was that was the time in New York. I'm from New York, so I remember this. But I think this occurred after I had come to California. But there was a time in New York when there was these young teenagers going around and going in groups and molesting people, assaulting them, taking their stuff, and they were doing it on the trains. This was, I think, in the early 90s when the crime rate.
Bernard Getz, that's the name.
Bernard Getz, right?
Yes,
right. So when he went on the train and had a gun, and because he was angry and said he was almost hoping someone would stop him. So he knew what he was doing. So when they came up to him and tried to rob him, he shot them. And then I think so. If one person was attacking him, one of the defendants was attacking him, and he shot them, that would be that might be self-defense. But he also the other defendants started running, and he shot them. If I'm remembering it right, so that's really different. That's not at all a mental health defense, because if anything, he was claiming, I suspect, I don't remember the details, was self-defense. But even that was questionable because he had the gun and he was waiting for them. And even as they were running away, he just didn't defend himself. He really was taking the law in his own hands.
I think that's what I was trying to get at as well, too. Like, say you shoot somebody thinking like, this guy's from Russia. This guy's going to kill me. This guy's an alien or something like that. It made me think of the whole Bernard Getz thing. So I just wanted to clarify that. And I said, that is really interesting. Yes.
And, but remember, you also have to have at the time, the mistake you make is because of a severe mental disorder. It's not because you're angry. It's not because you feel things are unfair. It has to be because of a mental disorder, a mental disease or defect. So
Okay.
it's schizophrenia, some form of psychosis. Your mood disorder. You have a bipolar disorder that's so out of control. You're so grandiose, or you're so paranoid that your reality is distorted. So it has to be that as well.
And you also cover some topics as well, too. You also did, about self-defeating behavior, cruelty, PTSD. That's been the number one so far. Self-deception, substance abuse, learning disorders, and also workplace violence and financial mechanisms. And you seem to cover that. And also part of the book, Decoding Madness.
Yeah, I try to cover a lot. I cover about juvenile crime, for example, juveniles be tried as adults if they're involved in criminal, severe crime. I have one extensive case in there that I explore that issue and how the surface facts could be so misleading in some ways to think, well, this kid is evil, for example, and he was involved in a drug bust where someone got shot and killed. So the question was, should he be tried as an adult or an adult court, or should he be tried as a juvenile, even though he was 16, because someone was dead or someone was killed? The prosecution wanted to treat him as an adult, which makes a huge difference. As an adult, he'll get 25 years to life. As a juvenile, he was 16, they would keep him at least till he's 25, but there's been emphasis on rehabilitation. So I have cases like that. I try to differentiate between, in a couple of cases, what's the distinction between murder, first degree murder or second degree murder, and manslaughter? How does the law make that distinction? Because there's all gradations of culpability depending on the facts of the case, and that's what's really important. That I think for your audience to know that the devil's always in the details. When one hears these stories in the news, usually there's a general picture of what happened, and from that general picture, you can say, "Oh, this is awful. What this person, he knew what he was doing." Sometimes you're right, but you have to know the details of the case to know what's going on. So I try to give a nuts and bolts of view of what's happening. I give a case where, for example, this man killed his girlfriend just as he was leaving. They were ending their relationship, and they end up having an altercation. She provoked him about his inadequacies as a man sexually, and it was in the kitchen. He grabbed the knife and killed her, and it was that manslaughter. And in my opinion, it wasn't, because of his history, because of the details of the case, and you have to see it in the book. And at the same chapter, I have a case where a man strangled his wife for 40 years, strangled her to death.
Oh my God.
And I go through a lot of psychological testing, interviewing the family, interviewing him, and came to the conclusion that was manslaughter.
You talked about manslaughter as well, too. There's also voluntary and involuntary. And of course, they talk about that. Maybe just a slight explanation between voluntary manslaughter and involuntary manslaughter. It's just like the first and second degree murders. Like you hear about voluntary manslaughter and involuntary. So
right. But most of the cases that I deal with have to do is the question, is it voluntary manslaughter? Because in this case, it was voluntary. He killed her, right? He wanted to be aggressive when he did it. Although there was, in this case, he was kind of lost a certain sense of consciousness because there was so much anger and he hadn't slept for a week and a half. But involuntary manslaughter is more when it happens as a byproduct of your action. You're driving, right? And you're talking to your friend and you hit someone, or you're drinking and you kill someone. That's vehicular manslaughter. Or you lose consciousness. It's not voluntary. But those are the cases that are more tend to be more civil cases. The criminal cases are more whether is it a crime of passion, or is it more deliberate, or is it more premeditated? If it's premeditated, it's first degree murder. Or if it's a murder that you weren't premeditated, but you got so angry, I'm going to kill him, and I did it on purpose, and you weren't in the heat of passion.
Mm-hmm.
But with voluntary manslaughter, that's heat of passion. That's like when a man and a woman are arguing, and the man gets so angry,
like whack or something,
and then she, or a woman gets a pot slams a husband.
Yeah, just like the cartoon. Bam.
But that's why this is an important issue, and I deal with this too. Women feel it's unfair because the heat of passion evolved over the last few centuries, especially in the last century. The prototypical case was a man finding his wife with another man, and he kills one of them. So the law didn't excuse it, but they said they felt that was mitigating because he was so impassioned, he lost it. In order to be for a crime of passion, there can't be a cooling down period.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean by that, you can't say it's a crime of passion if you get angry at your girlfriend, you leave, you go to a bar, you talk to your friends, then you're leaving home and you're still pissed and you go and you kill her. It has to be in a moment of extreme passion. And women, especially feminists, feel the thing that's unfair about that is women who kill their husbands who feel trapped and are being abused by them. And the husband goes to bed and then they shoot him or stab him. That the crime of passion doesn't fit, that the statute doesn't fit of that kind of behavior, because there was theoretically a cooling down period. She could have left the house. She could have done something else. So I discussed that in some detail in my book.
Okay.
And I review the recent literature on anger and the cooling down period. It really isn't consistent with the most recent scientific findings on what happens with anger and how the cooling down period is sort of anachronistic. But I go into that in more detail in the book. But that's another fascinating issue.
Okay, that sounds good. We'll talk more about the book and part you disagreed about. And there's one thing I wanted to cover. We'll get that in just 1 minute. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@SonicWebStudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, time to give official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you love Missing by Mia Molson-Zia. Available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is an illusion and those you love be the first to go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Molson-Zia has garnered great reviews and even loved and endorsed by Hollywood celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today for Goes Missing by Mia Molson-Zia. Available on Amazon. Also, the Mike Wagner Show is brought to you by Picture This Photo Books. Remembering is a key ingredient. How beautiful your mother looked at a wedding, and even more so at yours. Who doesn't miss Grandma's meatballs, huh? Well, the holidays are coming. What better time? Give a gift for remembrance. Makes you laugh and cry at the same time. Whatever gift for Grandma's recipes, or just because those smiles and tears will just melt your heart. Yeah, Grandma's meatballs. That's right. Call Karen Shaw, Picture This Photo Books at 646-798-0809, or visit picturethisphotoBooks.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Picture This Photo Books. Bring your memories back to life. The whimsical, casual, or formal, and always uniquely you. Also, check out the Mike Wagner Show on over 30 podcast platforms. Take us with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter today. Check out the Mike Wagner Show merchandise at themikewagnershow.com or on Amazon.com at the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com. Check out the Mia Molson-Zia store for great books like Missing, Once, and Wrinkles. Also t-shirts, pop sockets, hoodies, a lot of cool gifts for your loved ones. Makes great gifts. And support the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM as well as PayPal and the MikeWagnerShow.com. Make sure you give generously today. We're here with author Richard Lettieri, and with 25 years of conducting criminal and civil forensic exams on the Mike Wagner Show. He's got the book Decoding Madness. And before we get back into the book Decoding Madness, you disagreed about one particular issue we had discussed about, and explain why.
You mean the issue of the neuroscience behind the psychopath?
Yes, that's correct. You disagreed about something. So.
Right. Well, again, the neuroscientific evidence is that in general, people who are psychopathic personalities have a an unusual neuropsychological development. They have their limbic system is underactive. That's one of the significant elements. The limbic system is the lowest center in the brain that controls emotionality and responses to fear, anxiety, anger. Since it's underactive, even as children, they don't learn from experience, so they're harder to socialize. If you discipline them, they don't care. They don't respond. There's not an emotional reaction. They don't form attachments as well. So that as they grow, they're more self-centered. They're more instrumental in the way they're more comfortable just getting what I want, and not considering the other person. And then if someone has that kind of temperament because of their neurological development, and they come into a really destructive, chaotic early environment where the attachment patterns are really distorted, that person's going to grow up to be a dangerous person because it's easy to be cruel. They're more sadistic. They're more self-centered. They're more predatory. They want what they want, and they don't realize they're not as sensitive to hurting other people. So the notion is, when you look at that group as a whole, you look at the general data from the studies, the neuroscientists say, well, these people are different than the normal person, so that should be considered legally. The reason why I disagree with it, because I certainly agree with the aggregate data, the general findings, but even one of the most eminent neuroscientist who supports this position, I forget his first name, Sapolsky. He's a neuroscientist from Stanford. He supports this, but he makes the caveat, which is very important. He says, but at the same time, he can't explain why some people with this brain development aren't psychopaths and some are. It's not a causal relationship. Some people who have this underactive, let's say, limbic system, it's more complicated because it also affects the frontal lobes. But let's say this underactive limbic system, if they grow up in certain environments, they may tend to be someone who's cool and aloof, but also could form attachments and not necessarily cruel. They may end up then being a cool and aloof criminal attorney or litigator, so they're real good in court because they handle stress. Or they may defuse bombs and do something. Or they may end up being a Navy SEAL, and do really good things. So
there's a job for them, diffusing bombs. We could use that right now.
Right, exactly. So there's not a causal relationship between this kind of development and being a psychopath. It's not the medical model doesn't fit here because it's more of a psychosocial biological model that fits. If I have a defective pancreas and I don't get, and it's not making insulin, and I don't get shots, I'm going to die. See, then it's real causal. The psychopathy isn't that simple. There are multiple factors, and it's unpredictable that some people with the same experience will not go out and kill people or be psychopathic. And the other issue that I would bring up, that there's a large degree of what's called a number of successful psychopaths in the world. These are people that aren't criminals. There are a number of psychopaths in the world of business, in politics, in the professions, that are successful, but they cause a lot of damage socially, financially. Bernie Madoff may have been, one prototypical case, but so would all these people, if they are white collar criminals, when they usually get caught, so frequently a percentage of those are psychopathic individuals, but they're not in jail because they may have come from a different environment. They were raised with wealth. They may be bright and raised with wealth, so they didn't go to jail. So they commit larcenists and kind of crimes that are more go under the radar. Or if they don't commit crimes, they're very manipulative and it could be very cruel.
Or some will end up in minimum security. They'll probably just get what they want, 30 days, slap on a wrist, and they'll probably get served like, 7-course meals and, get their TV, their cable, Wi-Fi and everything else. It's almost like minimum security pretty much just gets you away like Al Capone did, back in the day. Tax evasion, he got himself, he was given a brand new, spanking new AM stereo and just ate what he wanted.
Well, yeah, it's probably a little different these days, but it's more subtle. Not that it's so different; it's more subtle. I mean, you can, in a lot of, from what I'm told from a lot of the guys I've evaluated who've been to prison, if you have enough money and resources, you get stuff. You can pay off different people. You get your pornographic shows. You get but these white collar crime, because they end up in federal prison, and they call club fed compared to state prisons, they're very different. They're very more benign.
Club fed.
So, but that's kind of the reason why I don't agree. Again, the devil's always in the details. It has to be I have to look at a detailed clinical evaluation, see all the facts before you come to a decision on someone. You can be a psychopath and still end up being, in my opinion, could be insane. Because you can be a psychopath and schizophrenic. Mm-hmm. And at the time of the crime, you may have been under the influence of your delusions and had a distorted view of what you needed to do to protect yourself. Mm-hmm. But if you're a psychopath, and just because you're less feeling and not emotional, but you know what you're doing is wrong, you just don't care. That's not an excusing condition, mm-hmm. in my opinion.
And of course, also covers in the book as well, too, Decoding Madness, and had a really one of the interesting stories about a lady named Janice who was found guilty of premeditated, deliberate murder of their 9-month-old boy. And of course, 5 reasons why mothers kill their babies, or, talk about Simon, a vowed husband, 40 years. Yeah, I think we cover that. And plus you had Michael, stabbed mom in the back, thought she was evil. And of course, Tina, injured boyfriend, stabbed the son to death. I mean, you just got all these stories out there. And, you highlighted one of them about a husband devoted 40 years to his wife, and all of a sudden just like that.
Yeah, that's the one the one I was telling you about, that he choked her to death. And the one with Janice was very, very tragic. He had killed. She was psychotic when she did that, but the prosecutor convinced the jury apparently that she did it out of anger to get even with her husband. God. That was clearly not the case. And all the research on this shows that most women, when they kill their babies. It's usually, ironically, for altruistic reasons. They think they're protecting their baby from an evil world, and that was the case with her. She was very psychotic. She and the husband had their history of problems, but years ago. But that was brought up in the trial because the husband had drug problems when this was 7 or 8 years before the event, before the killing. But at the time of the killing, he was really a pretty much devoted husband, and her family testified to that. But when you have a crime, you have an infant being killed, it's very hard for the jury to come to a conclusion that the person wasn't responsible. Now, Janet had a long history of schizophrenia, for example. The jury might have been different. Their conclusion might have been different, but she didn't. It was more of she got psychotically depressed after some events in her life happened, especially the death of her grandmother who raised her. So the jury was more suspicious, and the prosecution kept hammering away that she did it out of anger, which was to me so far fetched. But the jury bought it. That was very very disturbing conclusion.
And do you think PTSD also plays part in a lot of these cases as well too?
Well, in the cases that I have, there was more of a primary other disorder, but sometimes there's PTSD, and PTSD can be very, very damaging, very destructive, because you end up being numbed. And the thing is, if you have PTSD and that's on top of other conditions that you were struggling with before you got the PTSD, whether you're a soldier or whether you were victimized by a crime when you were younger and you got PTSD, if you're already struggling with depression or you're struggling with a major illness like schizophrenia, it could be devastating.
Mm-hmm. And what are some other stories you would like to highlight as well, too, and for readers to learn about?
Well, let's see. We hit a lot of them. We had Michael killed his mother. The other case I have in there is on the brain. I have a whole case on that. My brain made me do it, and I highlight a couple of different cases to again show the range of conclusions that could stem from people who have brain damage from being from my conclusions was that they were still culpable, that this one psychopath I told you about, that he's in the brain chapter too. But on the other hand, I also give another case where an individual violently assaulted someone on the spur of the moment, in a moment of anger. But what I found with him is he had damage to the frontal part of his brain, the orbital frontal, right in front, right above the eyes.
Oh, wow!
And that's the period. That's the portion of the brain that has great control over impulse control and immediate reaction and judgment. So even when he was with me, when he was telling me about his accidents, he started hitting himself in the head. So it happened like this. And I had to stop and say, hey, you're going to hurt yourself. I mean, his impulse was so out of control. So when this guy made some comment to him, he just blasted him. And then afterwards, with his fist, and then afterwards thought, what did I do? He sort of like this momentarily loses it. So, but he was still found guilty, but to less of a lesser crime. And the judge found his neurocognitive condition mitigating, so he wasn't given as much time in jail. So I try to discuss the whole range of the kind of different issues, psychological and biological and neurobiological issues that can affect behavior and are related a lot of times to crime. And how just having an illness in itself doesn't excuse you. It depends on the facts, depends on the details of your behavior at the time. You can be seriously ill, like I said, even have schizophrenia. I have another a case in there where this young man was clearly very ill, very schizophrenic. And he killed his brother, his stepbrother. But I found him to be insane. I found him to be sane. I could not come to the conclusion that was insane. I'd have to elaborate on that to describe it. But basically, it was because although he had a psychotic illness, at the moment he killed his brother, it was out of anger. It wasn't because of a delusional thought. Although he was delusional, he really had, and he had a very specific and unusual form of schizophrenia, Capgras syndrome. In other words, he believed his family members were not still his family members, that they were taken away from him, and other people were inhabiting the bodies of his relatives. It's a very strange neuropsychological condition. And it's a sort of a specialized and rare form of schizophrenia. Nonetheless, when he did the act, he did it out of anger. So I couldn't come to the conclusion that he was insane. It's a very complicated case.
And what do you want readers to learn or get out of this book?
Well, my hope is that they see a couple of things, that they have a window into the nuts and bolts of what it takes to do a forensic evaluation, the complexity of it, and that you never know until you get the details of a case how guilty someone is. Sometimes it could seem that they're not guilty, this person's crazy, and they were, and they're culpable, and sometimes they're not, and how the issue of mental illness is such a significant factor in so much of the crime. And unfortunately, a lot of men, because the mental health care in the nation now, especially for major mental illnesses like schizophrenia, is so bad, a lot of people get treated in jail. They end up that's the place they're getting treated. There's a lot of homelessness who are mentally ill. They end up in jail, and many of them told me, drugs drug problems, told me that they actually, being in jail was the only place they got any definitive treatment. Because if you're in there, you might be in there for 6 months before your case even gets to trial.
Wow.
You'll be on medication and you'll be stabilized for a while. Whereas, if you have drug-induced psychosis or schizophrenia and you go to the hospital these days, as soon as you're stable, you'll be out in 2 or 3 days. So I'd like to get people to see the complexity of some of these cases, how the justice system works, some of the problems with the justice system, and how some of there's some unfairness and lawlessness that comes out by the people who are supposed to be doing justice. I have one event. I tell the story of one guy evaluated. I could see how he was terrified when he was coming to the booth to see me. And the first thing he said to me, "Get me out of here." What he did was he was told by one of the other inmates to go to a different area because there was a gang argument going on, and one rival gang was going to throw one of the inmates off a top tier. So this guy, the defendant I was there to evaluate, he wasn't involved in the gang members. He told the police, he told the deputy this is going to happen. And the deputy got angry at him. Said, "Mind your business."
Oh,
geez. And then he wouldn't place him in protective custody because now he needed to be in protective custody because the gangs would then shank him for being a snitch.
Oh, my God.
So basically, the most fundamental issue we're dealing with, to get back to my interest in human nature, and that the potential in all of us is pretty broad, from doing great things to being very destructive. And I described this at the beginning section of what I call human nature as being demonic. I don't mean devilish. I mean demonic I spell it as Plato spelled it. And he described human nature as demonic, meaning that it's so powerful. He gives the example of eroticism as demonic because it's beyond reason. Mm-hmm. And this kind of quality of a dimension of our human nature makes us do great things. So it could be our muse, like I said, or it could be our destructiveness. It could make us create the Sistine Chapel, or we can end up creating Auschwitz. A whole range of possibilities. And you see that in full bore in the criminal justice system.
Mm-hmm. And of course, after the book came out as well, too, just one more thing. How many changes did you see, if any, were made to some of the rulings and whatever else after the book came out?
Well, the cases that I've you mean regarding these cases?
Correct. Yeah. Like after they read the cases and, have there been any changes, like some laws or anything like that?
No, because a couple of things. I mean, I've done over 1,000 cases. I mean, and the surface cases, the surface issues on the cases are very similar, and a lot of them killing, stabbing your mother in the back. So I worked hard to try to maintain confidentiality. So, and most of these cases I've seen over years, some of them 10 years ago. So it's not going to change these cases, the laws, but my hope is from reading this, people understand the nature of, better about human nature, and also the complexity of the cases, and give people more bird's eye view of how the cases are adjudicated.
Okay, that sounds very interesting. And where can we find the book Decoding Madness at?
Yeah, the book is in all different venues. You can go to Amazon, at Barnes and Nobles, any book venue online. It's in bookstores all around. I got a nice email from a neuropsychologist in Norway.
Nice.
Tell me he's read the book. He found it very helpful. So it's the publisher, Roman Littlefield, has it really internationally. So yeah, it's in all bookstores.
That is so amazing. And what's coming up for author Richard Lettieri of Decoding Madness? We'll find out in just a minute. You listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Also brought to you by official sponsor of The Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson's The of Missing, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Also brought to you by a picture of this photo book, so remembering is a key ingredient. Call Karen Shaw at 646-798-0809. visit picturethisphotoBooks.com. We'll be back with author Richard Lettieri with Decoding Madness after this time out. This edition of the Mike Wagner Show is brought to you by Picture This Photo Books, where remembering is the key ingredient. How beautiful your mother looked at her wedding, and even more so at yours. And who doesn't miss Grandma's meatballs? The holidays are coming. What better time to give a gift of remembrance that makes you laugh and cry all at the same time? Whatever gift of Grandma's recipes, or just because, those smiles and tears will melt your heart. Call Karen Shaw at 646-798-0809 or visit picturethisphotoBooks.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 10% off your first order. Picture This Photo Books, bringing your memories back to life. They're whimsical, casual, or formal, and always uniquely you.
Hey everybody, my name is Forbes Riley, and I'm an American actress and a TV host. And I was delighted when I got my copy of Missing, which is Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People based on a real life relationship. It's well written. It's amazing. You know, it talks about a man who has lost his wife and his daughter, and it's very well done. I'm going to highly recommend that you go get your copy of Missing. It is a powerful, exciting read. Mr. Mian Moshe Zia. He is the author of Missing. And I want to give a big shout out and a kiss all the way halfway around the world to my dear friend. Check him out at Mia's website. It's called www.miamoshenzea.com. Missing, available on Amazon. Again, I'm Forbes Riley, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hey, this is Ray Powers. And if there's one thing you can count on in these unpredictable times, it's that you're in good hands getting some great radio, courtesy of The Mike Wagner Show.
That's okay, I'm not looking to rain.
We're back with author Richard Lettieri here on the Mike Wagner Show with Decoding Madness and forensic psychologist, and released a number of stories about, detailing dozens of interviews with criminals, unusual cases and everything, unimaginable. And what else can we expect in 2021 and beyond, Richard?
Well, I have publishers interested in me doing another book. This one possibly for psychologists. I also recently found out there's one studio, movie studio, is interested in the book and may be interested in doing a series on it. So I'm going to see how things go.
That sounds really interesting. I like what you got. And who do you consider biggest influence in your career, Richard?
My biggest influence, I would say in general, my psychoanalytic training was really crucial, and it's been very helpful in the forensic arena too. Because in psychoanalysis, mostly what you're doing is focusing on your patient's deep inner experience. And it's a depth psychological approach. And to be a forensic psychologist, mostly what you're evaluating is somebody's mental state at the time. So I'm very comfortable in dwelling in terms of someone's inner life. And I have to say, fundamentally, I got a great education and exposure in the psychology at my undergraduate, City College in New York. City College, I paid $56 a semester. That's how much it was. Tuition was free. Boy, you paid the bursar's fee. And I had great professors. They were so supportive and encouraging. City College in New York. I'll always be indebted to that institution.
Oh, that's so fascinating. I love it. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
In terms of what?
It can be anything in general.
I would say try to be who you are and be true to yourself and good to other people.
Mm-hmm. And that's very true. And don't get in trouble. So
and don't get right. And avoid. That's one thing. Avoid getting into criminal justice because it's horrendous. You want to preempt that from happening.
And as Judge Judy would say, stay out of my courtroom.
Stay out of my jail.
Don't tell that to a psycho killer. We're here with author Richard Lettieri of Decoding Madness here on the Mike Wagner Show. Richard, very big thank you for your time. I learned a lot from you. You're absolutely amazing. Looking forward to having you on soon. Keep us up to date. Keep in touch. We'd love to have you back. Once again, tell us about your upcoming projects. What's your website? How do people contact you? Where can people purchase or check out your book?
Yeah, again, on all the different venues from Amazon to Barnes and Nobles, all the other different places that sell books online. It's all there. Any bookstores, and you can always go to if you any questions to me, or you can go on my website and see all the bookstores, venues that carry it. It's crimepsychologist.com, and you can contact me there and find out all the information about the book and where to get it.
We certainly will check that out. Once again, Richard, very big thank you for your time on the Mike Wagner Show. You've been absolutely amazing. Looking forward to having you on soon. Keep us up to date. Keep in touch, and look forward to having you back on. And we definitely wish you all the best. You've been terrific.
Thank you. You take care, Mike.
Picture this photo books, where remembering is the key ingredient. Preserving memories, keeping the memories of your loved ones alive as they reach in and touch your heart. How beautiful your mother looked at her wedding, and even more so at yours. The holidays are coming. What better time to give a gift of remembrance that makes you laugh and cry all at the same time? Whether it's a gift of past holidays, grandma's recipes, long ago moments, or just because, those smiles and tears will melt your heart. Call Karen Shaw at 646-798-0809. Once again, that's 646-798-0809. Or visit picturethisphotobooks.com.
Hey everybody, my name is Forbes Riley, and I'm an American actress and a TV host. And I was delighted when I got my copy of Missing, which is Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People based on a real life relationship. It's well written. It's amazing. You know, it talks about a man who has lost his wife and his daughter, and it's very well done. I'm going to highly recommend that you go get your copy of Missing. It is a powerful, exciting read. Mr. Mian Moshe Zia. He is the author of Missing. And I want to give a big shout out and a kiss all the way halfway around the world to my dear friend. Check him out at Mia's website. It's called www.miamoshenzea.com. Missing, available on Amazon. Again, I'm Forbes Riley, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Thanks for listening to The Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Please support our program with your donations at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again next time for another great episode of The Mike Wagner Show.